Hey everyone, Ryan here, MandRproductions, and welcome to episode 204 of Ask MandRproductions, a series where I answer your question and don't wear Colts hats. We're gonna replace this. Christmas is Saturday, so I feel like I gotta be a little festive here. Anyway, we have a lot of questions today. If you have a question you want to answer on next week's episode, leave it in the comments section below. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, all that jazz. But anyway, let's get into it with our first question from Jill. He or she says, do you think I should get the Pirates of Barracuda Bay? That set is one of the sets that I unexpectedly fell in love with at the beginning of 2020 when it came out. I think it's retiring at the end of December, or like by retiring at the end of December, I mean if it goes out of stock today, you won't be able to buy it. So if you're thinking about buying it, 100,000% buy it as soon as possible, because that is an amazing set. It is one you will certainly regret not picking up, and it's always something that farther down the line, if you decide you don't like it anymore, you can sell and you'll get your money back. You know what I mean? It's that sort of thing with buying a Lego set like that, in my opinion. So I say go for it, 110%. It's an amazing set and you won't be disappointed. Revan R says, could you link the Grogu Plushie? My girlfriend is crazy about it and kept touching the touchscreen on the laptop in order to zoom in on it. You mean this Grogu plushie, like the best thing ever created? Yeah, you should definitely get her one for Christmas. That'd be a great gift. It's at Costco. I'll put a Costco link in the description if I can find it on Costco.com. But all I know is that Sans and Claire bought it for me at Costco. So hopefully I can find it for you. If I can, I'll link it there. If not, Costco is where you need to be. Ethan Richard says, what is the worst offense LEGO has committed in terms of compromising the quality of their products? Ethan, I believe you have made a mistake. I am trying my best German accent from watching Glorious Bastards last weekend, and I believe you have misread the sentence that LEGO put out saying that LEGO never compromises the quality of their products, and therefore there cannot be a worst offense of what they have done with compromising the quality of their products. I suggest you read the words on the paper a little better next time, yeah? I'm really sorry. I had to. That Classic Brick says, do you think that LEGO will make Phineas and Ferb sets? I think this ship has sailed 10 years ago, buddy. Unfortunately, they made a game for Phineas and Ferb, although I'm not sure if it even released. It might have been one of the unreleased LEGO games. So they had the license at one point, but that was like 10 years ago, and Phineas and Ferb hasn't been relevant for about that amount of time. I just don't see it ever happening. Perhaps a one-off LEGO idea set could get in someday, but as far as sets in any significant way, probably not. The last time I tried to pronounce this guy's name, you guys commented and were very upset about the way I said it, so I'm gonna just call him Uncle. He says, if you were a new LEGO Star Wars fan, would you watch yourself to know more about the franchise? And I guess my answer is probably yes, because I can't think of anyone who does really informative summarizations of things. I don't know the best way to put it. Now, if you were trying to learn more about LEGO as a whole, I think the best person to watch is Nick on Planet Ripples and specifically his LEGO Rewind series. He's done a great job of going through a ton of different LEGO themes throughout the decades that LEGO has been making sets, and kind of doing a really good summarization of the good and the bad and everything in between with those themes. He's really good with it, so that is what I would highly suggest for that. But as far as specifically LEGO Star Wars, I think for some self-reflection on this specific idea, I should probably be making and trying to work on videos that are good for people that are specifically new to LEGO Star Wars. Like a beginner's guide to LEGO Star Wars would be a great video for me to have out there, and I feel like it would have been better to have out 2 years ago, right? Because I think a lot of new people have come in the last 2 years, but better late than never. So yeah, I think the answer is yes, only because I can't think of anyone who does it better for LEGO Star Wars specifically, but for LEGO in general, Nick on Planet Ripple. Dooku Brick says, I'm trying to upgrade the picture quality of my videos. What camera do you use, and what camera do you suggest that I use that isn't too expensive? So I'm not a camera guru. I'm not the guy to tell you what the best camera is. I would highly suggest, there's a bunch of YouTubers that do camera videos. That's where you want to be for what camera is best. I use an iPhone 13 Pro, and I use a Canon M50. Those are my two cameras that I use for everything. So I pulled up your channel, and I feel like I have some better advice for you as far as stuff that doesn't have to do with your camera quality, because you're uploading in 1080p 50 FPS. That's more than passable. Nobody's gonna look at that and be like, oh, this looks terrible. 1080p, it's burning my eyes. That's just not gonna happen. This is a 1080p 60 video. beautiful. So like I said, I pulled up your channel, and I think you should worry less about the quality of your camera and more about like the quality of your content, or like the ideas behind your content, especially at 32 subscribers. Like your camera quality is not going to be your make or break there. It's going to be the ideas behind what you're doing and the execution of them. And so the point being really as well is I think your money would be better spent not $500 on a camera, but you could really go and spend $100 or $200 on some better lights, some better background stuff, or like whatever you want to do for your backdrop. If you want that all black enclosure, go buy something that looks nicer than like 4 pieces of cardboard. I don't know exactly what it is, but you get my point. And certainly if you want the white background, white backgrounds are very fickle. They either look great or they look terrible. And like, you know, I'm being a little blunt there, but you get my point. Like it's not an easy thing to execute, and it's part of the reason that I don't do it, because I just couldn't get it to look particularly great. But specifically on this Grievous Starfighter, I mean, your camera quality looks fine. I wouldn't go out and replace your camera. I would go out and maybe get a second or third light. You want to look into what 3-point lighting is, something to diffuse those lights because of how harsh the shadows are in your shots. You don't want such harsh shadows. So yeah, hopefully some advice there that can help you. But like I said, if you want camera advice, I'm not the guy. But also, I don't think you need a new camera. Trolls Fazole says, are the Minifig Packs going to release in physical stores, or is it going to be website only? Personally, I live in Sweden. Are they going to release in the Sweden shops? So I don't live in Sweden, cannot possibly speak to that. The only thing I will say about that is, if you have seen Minifig Packs in the past, like the Spider-Man pack or the Avengers packs in your local shops, then it's very likely that they will also carry the Star Wars ones. If you haven't seen those, then the answer is obviously the opposite. For Lego stores and Lego.com, they should be in-store and online. Walmart and Target probably aren't going to carry them, you know, stuff like that. But if you want Minifig Packs and you want to guarantee yourself that you're going to get one, my absolute best advice for everyone is just buy them on Lego.com at midnight and be done with it. But nothing's guaranteed, and I certainly cannot speak to your local Sweden shops. Bo Peep says, I'm new to the Lego Star Wars community, so I don't know how long Lego produces sets before they retire, and I've been planning on buying the Father's Battle Pack and the Mandalorian Pack. Are these two sets retiring soon? Will their prices go up after they retire? You guys can read the rest if you'd like. Prices on everything tend to go up after they retire. That's just an across-the-board thing. There's a few cases, very rarely, when things don't go up in value, but generally, rule of thumb is everything goes up in value, which is, it seems unsustainable, but that's what has happened literally forever at this point. So it's hard to say anything different will happen. To the point of what sets retire when, that's also hard to know exactly at times. Lego usually, the rule of thumb is at 2 years. You know, if a set has been out for 2 years, it's probably at the end of its lifespan. The Mandalorian Battle Pack is retiring, and you say you only have enough money for one of each. Buy the Mando Battle Packs now. You can get the 501st Battle Packs next year, because the 501st Battle Packs will be available for at least another year, if not longer. So the Mando Battle Packs are retiring now. The other ones, don't worry about it right now. Put your money into the thing that you have money for that's going to be retiring the soonest, because it's been out the longest, and we know that it's retiring. But yeah, everything seems to be changing now too. It's not as like generally like, you know, everything would be 2 years. Like the Father's Battle Pack might be available for 2.5, might be available for 3.5. Like there's like an expansion happening right now with how long Lego is willing to keep some things out. Like the Yoda set and the Rise of Skywalker, Millennium Falcon, those are going to be 3-4 year runs, and certainly the TIE Fighter and X-Wing that came out last January seem like they could very likely be 3, 4, 5 year sets as well. So it's not going to quite be the same that it has been in the past, where 2 years is like the general rule of thumb. But if something has been out for 2 years or almost 2 years, like you're definitely getting near the edge of like, you know, you're playing the game that you can't always win of, oh, if I just wait till it's just about to retire and get it right on clearance. Like, no, you're going to lose that 50-50 sometimes. Taylor L says, have you heard of the 1999 Lego Yoda Target Pepsi Guess the Price promo? Do you know how much one would be worth in its display packaging with the guesses? So this is something I am going to have to look up on eBay to figure out any idea of the value of, but it is, of course, something I've heard of. I've seen it. I've considered buying it. At this current point in time, I definitely don't have the space for it, but it is really cool. It's kind of like the R2-D2 that I have. It's basically just a crappy, very brick-built version of Yoda that looks ridiculous. So as you can tell, his eyes look absolutely ridiculous, and also like he uses a different shade of green than the other Lego Yodas have used. So he uses like a regular green versus the other Lego Yodas that use the sand green, which looks way better, because this just looks kind of dumb. But he's a pretty cool Yoda for people that do have him, and I believe he comes all glued together, so I guess that's nice that you can't take it apart or it won't fall apart on you. I found one on OfferUp here for $700, but it does look like it's been on OfferUp for 2 years, which means it's probably not worth $700. Yeah, the thing with some of these things that are rare and don't have as big of a market because there aren't as many people looking at them and there aren't as many people selling them is it can be hard to like nail down a price. The best way to sell something like this could potentially be to put it on an eBay auction, start it at $1, and just see where the bids go. You know, it can be a risk. It could go for less than you would want, but like that is kind of the way to do it in a way. Or you could put it on eBay, you know, go $1,000 or best offer, and you'll probably be fielding a lot of offers for something like that if you're looking to sell one. 2Django says, with the return of LEGO Overwatch as a part of the LEGO Games line, what do you think could be next? Personally, I want Call of Duty set from Cold War. They'll never do Call of Duty. Call of Duty's way over the top for modern military, and yeah, I'd love it, but that's not happening. I specifically wanted to talk about LEGO Overwatch, though. I am very surprised that they are doing LEGO Overwatch again because of all of the stuff that is going on with Activision Blizzard. Now, if this set sells incredibly well, maybe my Activision stock will finally go back up, but like, I don't know. It feels like they should cancel this set, kind of. Anyone that's been, like, you know, a little in tune with the gaming news and stuff, bad things that other Activision employees have done, and they want the CEO to step down, and, like, there's just a lot of turmoil over there right now, so I'm very surprised LEGO is allowing this set to release right now, given what's going on, and, like, I don't know. It just feels like a weird time to release an Activision LEGO set. So I don't know. I'm curious what other people think in the comments below. I wouldn't be surprised if the set gets canceled, though, because of the ties to Activision. Like, it wouldn't be the most shocking thing to me. They've been canceling a lot of LEGO sets recently. eBrick says, been a big fan of your content. My question is, could there possibly be a re-release of the Death Star play scale set next year at the $530 price set? Please don't even infer it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want it to happen. God, please, no. No. I'm sorry. I've been doing LEGO Star Wars for too long. Some of you guys don't have the trauma I have. I don't want another play scale Death Star yet. It's too soon. Let it die. Bring it back in like 10 years. It was available for like 10 years already. You don't need to re-release another one. Do something dope as hell that isn't that. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the don't do that, LEGO. Please don't even talk about it. The Real Stoche says, I personally love to build sets I'm buying, and yes, sometimes I like to deconstruct a set only to put it together again, and this also goes for bigger sets because I just love the building experience and it's fun. So is that actually not something you enjoy? Just because I don't want to take apart my $800 UCS AT-AT and put it back together doesn't mean I didn't enjoy building it the first time. Yeah, look, there's been a lot about, I had a few other comments about the AT-AT and I couldn't pick them all, but, like, yeah, this is the one that doesn't come apart all the way. Brixar did say that it only takes like 2 seconds to stick a little knife in there and pull the piece out that can't come apart anyway. So like there's that too, apparently. It's just not a big deal in my opinion. It's completely overblown and inflated, as are a lot of things in today's society that we won't get into on the channel. But I mean, if that's your thing, go wild. But to me, it's like, obviously I enjoy building it the one time, but I'm not going to go through the trouble of taking it apart just to build it again. If I wanted to build something else, I'm fortunate enough that I can go out and get something else, I guess. But yeah, like if it's just not something I've ever given any thought, and I think you're in the real minority there of people that just are going to tear something down just to build it again because they enjoy building it so much. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking it, and it's certainly something you can do with literally every LEGO set except one. Come on, I think that's a pretty good track record. So yeah, I think the AT-AT thing is completely overblown, and I think inferring that I don't enjoy building sets is the wrong conclusion from that. You know, I think that it's good that you can't completely take apart 4 pieces on the AT-AT. Like, it's fine. Everyone's gonna live. The world before, the world after. Captain Chaos 91 says, it's been about 15 years since the release of the 2006 AT-ST. Personally, I'd love to see a more detailed and cleaner model without so many studs on the head. They did it with the Snowspeeder, so why not with another set? What are your thoughts? Obviously, the AT-ST is one that is long overdue for a remake, and it's one that I agree with, what I would love to see a remake happen. That and, ironically as well, from 2006, Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. You have both those sets, which are probably the 2 most overdue for a remake UCS sets that I think actually should be remade. The only other set that hasn't been remade at this point from there or earlier was the UCS TIE Interceptor, but I don't think we need a UCS TIE Interceptor remake. So I think there's a lot more important and pertinent things. I think the ATST is definitely on that list. If LEGO continues to do 3 UCS sets a year, the ATST should definitely be made. Part of me feels, though, the first ATST was only an $80 set, and LEGO doesn't want to go under that $200 price point. So it's possible that they're waiting until the ATST, or they can make an ATST that they feel like is worth $200, or inflation catches up to that point where a UCS ATST is worth $200, and then they can release it at that $200 price point, because it was one of the cheaper UCS sets, and as was Darth Vader's TIE Fighter at $100, but so were a lot of other UCS sets really early on. So I think the ATST specifically could see that problem where LEGO doesn't want to release a $150 UCS set for whatever reason, so they're waiting until it's worth $200 in a sense. So I don't know, that's just a little bit of a conspiracy theory for you there, but yeah, I'm on board for ATST remake. It's just like, when. Stasis Brick says, I love how the UCS AT-AT is basically minifig scale. Do you think we would get more UCS sets at that scale? And if so, what would you want it to be or think it would be? So the minifig scale thing has always been interesting. It's always been a thing that kind of happens by happenstance. It's like, oh, it turns out that if we make an $800 UCS AT-AT, which is what we want to do anyway, we can actually make it in like a perfect scale that's like perfect for minifigs, and it just works. Like if the AT-AT had to be twice as big and $1,600 to be perfect minifig scale, then it wouldn't have been done. It would have just been that same big old AT-AT, but without the perfect one-to-one minifig scale, which it would have still been an amazing set. It just wouldn't be that, right? And same thing with the Imperial Shuttle. We're going to make a big Imperial Shuttle. It's going to be $250. Oh, hey, look, it just happens to line up with the scale our minifigs are at. Like, I think that that's the way it typically goes. I don't think you can go in and just pick something, like obviously a Star Destroyer, a Venator. There's a lot of things that will never be that because they can't. But there are also a lot of things that happen to be within certain parameters in the Star Wars universe that translate well into the LEGO UCS universe that, when done at the right price point, happen to be minifig scale. And so there are quite a few things like that, and there's quite a few things that aren't like that. Like the ATST we just talked about wouldn't be a minifig scale UCS set. It would have to be too big. A minifig scale ATST is about the size of the Playscale one or something in that range, right? And that's just not going to be a UCS set. You know, same for the gunship. A lot of people wanted a minifig scale UCS gunship. I don't think they understood what UCS means in a sense. If they did a Grievous Starfighter, I just happen to still be looking at it on my thing here. A Grievous Starfighter in UCS scale would be way bigger than minifig scale, so you wouldn't get that. So yeah, it's hard for me in my mind to think of what would translate perfectly like that, and perfectly within, you know, a reasonable margin of error there as well, because obviously nothing is going to be perfect because these aren't scale models themselves. Even the UCS Y-Wing, which I think is like close, is still like 30% or something off of what is true one-to-one minifig scale, but it still fits the minifigs in a way. So it's not like the ATST where it's just way too big for minifigs and they don't even include anything for it, which I don't mind either way. I think there are some people that are really finicky about it and like really just, oh, if it doesn't fit minifigs perfectly, I don't like it. And I'm not that way. Like, I think it can go well either way. I don't care either way. I think when it works out, like with the AT-AT, it's amazing. And sometimes when it doesn't work out and there's still no space for minifigs, like the Star Destroyer, it's equally amazing. So it goes both ways in my opinion. I can't think of anything off the top of my head though that would scale perfectly in something that I feel like they would do as the size for the UCS version of a model. I'm sure you guys know more things and can comment below, but yeah, I just wanted to explain how I thought it worked. And the Wheel asks, what is the deal with spare pieces? Like, how do they choose which pieces to include as spares, and do they count for the piece count? So no, spare pieces do not count for the piece counts at all. If you ever want to test this hypothesis, just grab a poly bag at Walmart or Target, count all the pieces that you use as you build, and then you'll still have pieces left over at the end that are additional to the piece count. So piece count, extra pieces don't count for the piece count. I don't know exactly how they choose what pieces are extra pieces, but they are always really small pieces. So I believe part of the thing with it is that it's because Lego sets are sorted by weight, and so sometimes they want to make sure that that piece is there for sure, so they'll double drop it or something like that just to make sure that it's there. So as far as I'm aware, it's more of like a guaranteeing that that piece is in the set versus like a quality of life thing for customers. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised that if they could ensure that all the pieces were there, they wouldn't include extra pieces, because it's just additional costs that really, for the most part, there's no benefit to, because like I've had a billion Lego sets, I've maybe had one piece missing one, you know, like it's just not typically a big deal. They're pretty good with that sort of thing. So yeah, I think if they could, they wouldn't, because they don't need to. But because I guess they can't measure down to that minute gram or detail of how many, you know, of this piece they put in the set, they just you know, count over one, because having more than enough is much better than not having enough. So that is it for this episode of Ask MandRproductions. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and leave me any questions you have for next week's episode. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, and I hope you guys have a very, very Merry Christmas, or Hanukkah, or whatever you celebrate. See you guys.